5, 4, 3, 2. Krista Raymer, welcome. Happy end of
Jay,
summer. Happy end of summer.
don't say that already.
Well, it is.
Too
I am here.
early.
I'm in Toronto. You're in Michigan. The weather has changed. Yes?
Dramatically.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
it's cold.
I was
Ow.
saying before we came on that we just drove from Atlantic, Canada, or the Maritimes here last week to Toronto, and every tree that was like changing, I pointed out to my wife. She's like, "Stop saying that." I was like, "There's one. There's
No,
one. There's one." But
no,
it's happening. You can't
it's
change it.
happening.
It's
It's
happening.
happening.
It's been a good summer, I assume. We haven't checked in that much, but it also strikes me that today is Thursday. We're heading into a long Labor Day weekend.
Yes.
I wanted to ask you, as
Uh-huh.
C3 Industries and formerly at Vitrina Group, like, is it too soon to start planning for the big cannabis holidays at the end of the year in Q4?
No, it's not. I think when we think about contribution to revenue and kind of what's going on in the lives of our customers, it creates the importance to start thinking about it now, especially if we're going to do things that are not only within our four walls, meaning like if we bring in any kind of brand partnerships or try and do something with another group, we've got to have time to build those plans together. So now is the time.
And you always say, you frame everything that you talk about in sort of three ways. One, getting new customers, getting current customers to spend more, or getting customers to come back more frequently. Do I have that right? Did I get
Yeah,
that right?
those were the three. Yeah.
Those are the
Attract
three.
more, increase frequency, or increase spend while they're in the store.
And do you think about those things heading into the end of the year? Like, do you think of them all together? Like, how do you plan for what's about to happen, which are some really big cannabis days of sales?
Yeah.
Like, do they all ladder up to one of those three things or two of those three things? And how do you think, is it about product? Is it about marketing? Is it about brand partnerships? Like, or is it staffing? Like all of those things?
It all ladders up to some of those things. I
Okay.
think when we think about initiatives, it's easy to be like, wow, this initiative is going to do all three. And I will always push back and say an initiative can do one, maybe two of them well. Very rarely is it something going to hit all three. If it's hitting all three, then it's probably not going to move the needle in any of the three that we were really hoping to do.
Mhm.
So for us, we have stores in different markets. We have stores with different levels of competitors. We have stores that are like maybe only 6 months old, all the way up to years old. And so, how do we balance those things coming up to a holiday like this? So, we first think about on a kind of like statewide basis, what's our target and what are we trying to do with the state around a core holiday? And then we dig into individual stores and say, does this store need efforts that are going to bring us more new customers, increase the amount of the customers that are already coming in the door? Or do we have a frequency opportunity? Can we insert a couple transactions here or there? And so when we think about the holidays, we basically come at a store by store basis and build up into a bigger overarching strategy and put together then some storytelling that we can use with the customer. And sometimes that shows up a little bit differently at some stores than others. So it is by no means do we just say Green Wednesday, for example, is a attract new customer holiday. It definitely we dial it back into on a per store basis of the three priorities, which one is going to help us move the needle the most.
And that gets it down to really one-offs for each store potentially, even though there may be some statewide strategy. And if I was a operator, I own one store, whether it's in New York or Connecticut or Massachusetts or California, like, is there something in my data that I should say, you know what, my priority on Green Wednesday is X?
Mhm.
Is it like how would I know if I'm short on customers and want to attract more or get people to
Yeah.
spend more? Like, is there data I should like? Is there one, two, three pieces of data that I would look at to do that?
Yeah, so one of the things that you can take a look at would be your trend line coming into the holiday around what your new customer rate is.
Hmm.
If it is over 20%, you're probably still building the business in some way.
Mhm.
And so you probably want to continue to use holidays like that to increase your awareness. Creating awareness is really then going to be how far from the store does this consideration need to be? So, when customers are closer to the store, they're more likely to be loyal. So, we're probably wanting to target customers that are closer to the store, unless you have a border store, maybe, which would
Mhm.
be a nuance, or there aren't any locations close to you. But closer to the store, more likely to be loyal, attracting customers. Our trend line in would be understanding new customer acquisition rates. If your acquisition rate is kind of like lower than that, you probably want to take a look at, like, do I have a days between visits opportunity? So I would be looking at kind of year to date, what is our average days between visits for different types of customers? And like, is there a way to shorten that up and insert an additional transaction? And then from an AOV perspective, we could get really fancy with this one, or we can be basic. And so to be basic would be to take a look at our AOV and then say, what can I add to these transactions, and how many of the transactions do I need to add it to for it to be successful? If you want to get really fancy, it would be to take a look at your average basket size on a price band view. So let's say, for example, $20 bands, and see where the majority of the volume is, and create specific targets for each of those bands. So for all the customers that are $20 or less, what do we need to add to them? For all the customers that are $40 or less, $60 or less, $80 or less, or $100, because there's a lot of variety in what happens in those bands, and what the potential customer grouping looks like. At a holiday, typically see customers willing to spend more. And so best practice from outside of cannabis in terms of Black Friday is usually to put together some type of offer that is about 2 or 3 times your average basket size.
Okay.
And so that's something that during like a blip of a holiday, like a Black Friday or a Green Wednesday, we take into consideration as well.
And actually, what you just said also brings me back to a previous conversation we had about thinking about what products and assortment you'd want in inventory to service those customers in those different bands. And
Yep.
do you have enough variety, or maybe too much variety? Like that all, it all works together, because if you're gauging those customer spends by band and want them to move up, and you think they're going to spend more, you need products in those bands appropriate for the people that are coming in for those product, that you'd want to move into those products, right? Like it's not,
Yeah.
it's 3 or 4 dimensional chess.
Yeah. And sometimes those products are the same price.
Right.
Like maybe it's a $20 eighth that lives in all of the bands, but the difference is the customer who buys one versus the customer who buys 4.
Yeah.
And so it really is about understanding what the groupings of those bands look like, and usually up into a higher band, we're going to see more units per transaction, or a dramatic swap from like multiple units to only one. And that would be the indication of usually going up to a larger pack size, like an ounce.
Krista, every time we talk, and something like this makes me think that, well, I know you have a complicated job and that you're very good at it.
I don't
But
have a complicated job. I have a great team that helps.
no, I know that. But yes, all those things. And as an operator, if I have a very small team and I'm sort of the boss and the manager and all those things, I have a lot on my plate.
Yeah.
And thinking about it in August is easier than thinking about it in the beginning of November. Because in the beginning of November, you can't do all the things for Green Wednesday you might want to do, but taking time to think about it now, you might be able to do those things. And like, you guys are already thinking about it. Yeah, I guess it's sort of from a time perspective, you're already planned. Do you have a big whiteboard for Green Wednesday and New Year's already set up?
They're not, they're digital whiteboards.
Like
We've
Notion.
got a
Notion?
calendar
Okay.
that is kind of like coming up in terms of laying out what's going to be happening and when, as well as we do the work back of laying out when the work needs to happen. So right now we have timelines about being like, when do we need to have our first kind of spin past deals, promotions, and core partners for these holidays, and getting ahead of that. I think you're totally right. You get closer to the holiday, like you get swept up in it, and you lose sight of maybe what's the most important stuff, or you don't always take into account what the unintended consequences sometimes to deals or promotions can be. And that's where having a little bit of breathing room helps you to identify those earlier.
Yes. Plan. It's easier to plan in August than in November. And especially in terms of if you need products to fill some of those category gaps you're talking about, and staffing and all those things. Krista, I never leave one of these conversations less informed. I guess I
That's
could say it
great.
the positive way. I guess I can say the positive way. I'm always smarter after talking to you on Thursday mornings about cannabis retail, because my learning curve has been steep, but you have been a good teacher and instructor, and taking real world considerations into the thought and what you're talking about. So I super appreciate your time, energy, and expertise in sharing it with our audience.
Thanks for having me, Jay. Pleasure
Pleasure.
to be here as always.
I wish there was a real whiteboard, not a digital one. It'd be so much more fun for you to like spin your camera, look at the whiteboard, and then spin it back. But
The next one we do, I can have a whiteboard.
oh, I like it. Okay, we'll do a whiteboard. It'll be very like there was this doctor in Toronto, Mike Evans, who did like a whole sort of public health whiteboard series. That'll be your
Okay.
thing. We'll make a little
Okay.
avatar of Krista, and you'll be like, we'll make you cartoon.
Drawing.
Yeah, I like it.
Love her.
All right, Krista, thanks so much for your time. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Thanks, Jay.